Good morning, you're watching A News. I'm Dilek Tuna. Here are the top stories for the hour. The United States and Ukraine sign a long-awaited natural resources deal. Trump asks business chiefs for a little bit of time as the US economy shrinks. The D8 countries use a unified payment platform to boost trade. The US and Ukraine have finalised a landmark deal giving Washington access to Ukraine's natural resources in exchange for reconstruction support. After months of tense talks and unexpected delays, the deal also establishes a joint investment fund to aid the country's recovery from the war.
The United States and Ukraine have signed a deal for the joint exploitation of Ukraine's energy and mineral resources following several months of tense negotiations. This follows a breakthrough reached days ago during a private meeting between the two leaders at Pope Francis's funeral in the Vatican City. The initial agreement, which was expected to be signed in February, collapsed after US President Donald Trump accused Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky of risking World War III. The US Treasury Department announced the agreement alongside the creation of a new reconstruction investment fund to support Ukraine's recovery. The Treasury also issued a statement acknowledging the significant financial and material aid Washington has provided Kyiv since the war with Russia began in 2022. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister, Yulia Sviridenko, was in Washington to finalize the deal. She says it would be a 50-50 partnership, with Ukraine retaining ownership of its resources. She also says that the fund would attract global investment. US President Donald Trump stressed that the agreement was necessary to secure American investments and ensure a return to American aid.
And I didn't want to make a complicated deal. I didn't want to make a deal that couldn't be made because Ukraine doesn't have very much money. They're going through a very bad period of time. It's been brutal. But I felt very foolish being a judge. So I said, well, we want something for our efforts beyond what you would think would be acceptable. And we said rare earth. They have very good rare earth. As you know, we're looking for rare earth all the time. Rare earth is called rare for a reason. And they have a lot. And we made a deal where our money is secure, where we can start digging and doing what we have to do. It's also good for them because you'll have an American presence at the site, Chris. And the American presence will, I think, keep a lot of bad actors out of the country, or certainly out of the area where we're doing the digging. So we made a deal, and I assume they're going to honor the deal. I put Scott in charge, and Scott's done it beautifully, but we haven't really seen the fruits of that deal yet. I suspect we will.
According to a draft of the agreement, Ukraine removed a clause that would have required it to repay past US military assistance. While the deal still needs to be ratified by Ukrainian lawmakers, it includes new US support, such as air defense systems. The agreement also grants the United States privileged access to Ukraine's vast deposits of natural resources, including graphite, aluminium, titanium, oil, and gas. These are vital materials for clean energy, military industries, and high-tech infrastructure.
President Donald Trump is calling for patience as the US economy posts its first quarterly contraction in 3 years. Speaking to business leaders, he remained optimistic about a rebound and promised sweeping economic reforms.
President Donald Trump on Wednesday urged business leaders to be patient as the US economy recorded a first quarter contraction, calling for a little bit of time to revive growth. Speaking at an event promoting investment in the United States, Trump acknowledged the economic dip and the political toll of his tariff policies, but expressed confidence that a rebound was imminent.
In the first quarter GDP numbers just out today, core GDP, now we're removing distortions from imports, inventories, and government spending, was up plus 3%. But this is Biden's economy because we took over on January 20th. And I think you have to get us a little bit of time to get moving, but this is the Biden economy. But we still had and we've had a lot of things happen since November 5th that helped this economy.
Trump remained optimistic despite the setback, pointing to continued strength in consumer spending and investment as early signs of recovery. He criticised previous climate-related spending initiatives, referring to them as unnecessary and harmful to the deficit, and vowed to eliminate such programs. Looking ahead, Trump pledged sweeping economic reforms, including what he described as the largest tax cuts in US history and unprecedented business initiatives. He also reflected on his previous term, portraying it as the most successful of any US presidency.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump on Wednesday downplayed the impact of his sweeping tariffs on Chinese goods, insisting that Americans don't need most of what China exports. Speaking during a cabinet meeting, Trump said the tariffs have severely affected Chinese manufacturing, claiming China's factories are not doing business. His comments come as the US economy posted its first contraction in 3 years during the first quarter, with a surge in imports ahead of the tariffs contributing to the decline. Previously, our Andy Mioch discussed the latest US economic data showing a 0.3% contraction with Ricardo Evangelista, director at Active Trades, a UK-based brokerage firm. Speaking from Lisbon, Ricardo analysed the consequences of President Donald Trump's tariff policies and shared insight on how both Washington and Beijing may move next in the ongoing trade war.
I think that Donald Trump's assessment is a clear display of what he is, which is more of an entertainer than a politician or a statesman. Therefore, I think it is something that is somehow detached from reality, and it's aimed at an internal audience, but it will not have any impact on reality. The reality is that the ongoing trade war with China is very negative for the US economy. We saw today a contraction in GDP numbers for the US of around 0.3%, and this contraction results precisely from many buyers of imports from China trying to close as many orders in the first quarter as possible, anticipating the so-called Liberation Day. So this already illustrates how negative for the US economy the current state of the affairs is. So Trump can try to sell us his alternative vision of reality. However, that per se will not change reality itself, which is very negative.
Hundreds of Panamanians took to the streets of Panama City on Tuesday, protesting against a new security agreement with the United States. The deal was signed in mid-April and allows American troops to be temporarily stationed in Panama for joint security operations. Demonstrators say the agreement threatens Panama's sovereignty and could increase US influence over the Panama Canal, which has been under Panamanian control since 1999. Tensions have increased after US President Donald Trump said he wants to take back control of the strategic waterway and let US ships pass through free of charge. A drone strike early Thursday morning has caused significant fires and widespread damage to buildings and infrastructure in Odessa, Ukraine's strategic Black Sea port city. The local mayor, Hennady Trukhanov, arrived at the scene shortly after the attack and says buildings were heavily damaged and residents have been affected. Also, the regional governor confirms there's been severe damage to civilian infrastructure, especially to homes. There were no immediate reports of casualties. Following Russia's unilateral declaration of a 3-day ceasefire in May in honour of Victory Day, Ukraine dismissed it as an attempt to manipulate, saying the right course of action towards peace would be a 30-day ceasefire. Both Moscow and Kyiv are saying they're open to talks, while Washington is threatening to abandon its peace efforts unless there is real progress.
Ukraine is signalling readiness for negotiations, but not on Russia's terms. Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said peace talks can begin in any format if Moscow demonstrates genuine intent, not what he called peace populism or a propaganda ceasefire for the May 9th parade. He stated that Russia must stop talking about its readiness for peace and start acting by agreeing unconditionally to a real and durable ceasefire. Moscow has declared a unilateral 3-day ceasefire starting May 8th ahead of Victory Day, a symbolic holiday in Russia. But Ukraine's leadership swiftly rejected the gesture. President Volodymyr Zelensky called it another attempt at manipulation, and Kyiv insists that peace must begin with a ceasefire lasting at least 30 days.
If Russia is so much willing to stop the war, why don't we start the ceasefire today? Why wait till 8th of May? Peace without justice is not peace, it's a surrender. And this is what actually Russia wants. They want Ukraine to surrender. They want Ukraine to capitulate. So we have bad news for Russia. Ukraine will not surrender. Again, this is our country. This is our home.
In New York, France pushed for stronger international pressure at the UN Security Council.
I call upon President Putin. Ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. France cherishes the hope that the Council will unanimously demand a comprehensive, immediate, unconditional ceasefire.
Russia's UN ambassador Vasily Nebenzia insisted Moscow remains open to diplomacy and that President Putin's truce could pave the way for direct talks.
Such a step could be the prelude to direct peace talks between the Russian Federation and Ukraine without any preconditions whatsoever.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov reiterated that Moscow's goal is a sustained long-term solution and that the peace process continues. However, he claimed there has been no response from Kyiv so far. Across the Atlantic, the US is also recalibrating its stance.
We are now at a time where concrete proposals need to be delivered by the two parties on how to end this conflict. If there is not progress, we will step back as mediators in this process.
While Moscow points to temporary truces, Kyiv insists only a full and unconditional ceasefire can unlock real negotiations. With France calling Russia the sole obstacle and the United States warning it may step back from its mediating role, the spotlight is now on Moscow's next move and whether words will finally turn into action.
Germany's military spending has rapidly increased, making it the world's fourth largest military spender, the highest the country's been since the end of the Cold War.
Germany has become Europe's biggest military spender for the first time since the end of the Cold War. Berlin's defense spending soared to $88.5 billion in 2024. That's a 28% increase from 2023 and an 89% rise since 2015. The country is now spending 1.9% of its GDP, approaching NATO's current target of 2%, and making it the world's fourth largest military spender. Germany's rapid military growth can be attributed to a special defense fund announced in 2022, which allowed for significant arms procurement and military research initiatives. In 2024, Germany also provided $7.7 billion in military aid to Ukraine, making it the second largest donor to Ukraine's defense efforts behind the United States. On the global scale, the United States remains the world's largest defense spender, outlaying $997 billion last year. China takes second place with $314 billion, and Russia takes third with $149 billion.
Denmark's King Frederik X visited Greenland in a show of unity with the island's new government. The King's visit to the Danish realm's territory comes following repeated threats by Donald Trump that the US will take control of the Arctic island.
Denmark's King Frederik X arrived in Greenland this week in a symbolic visit aimed at reinforcing ties with the semi-autonomous territory amid mounting pressure from the United States. The visit comes just days after Greenland's new Prime Minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, met Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen in Copenhagen. The leaders agreed to deepen cooperation and firmly rejected any suggestion that Greenland could be sold. Nielsen said US comments on the island had been disrespectful and made clear that Greenland will never, ever be a piece of property that can be bought by just anyone.
What we have said quite clearly from the start is that we are ready for a strong partnership with the United States. We are ready for more development, but we want respect. I don't think you can have any partner where there is no form of mutual respect. I think the Greenlandic government has clearly stated that, and the Greenlandic parties have too. We will never ever be a piece of property that can be bought by just anyone. And that is the message that I think is most important to understand. Then we can talk about cooperation and mutual respect with each other.
Frederiksen echoed the message, reaffirming Denmark's commitment to invest in Greenland and support its path toward greater self-governance. During his time in Copenhagen, Nielsen met King Frederik X, and the two returned to Greenland together. In Nuuk, the king praised the island's importance to the Danish realm, although he stressed that his trip carried no political message. During his visit, the monarch will meet with Greenland's new coalition government and a traditional community gathering known as a kaffemik. The visit follows a renewed US push for strategic influence in the Arctic. Earlier this month, US Vice President J.D. Vance visited a remote military base in Greenland, accusing Denmark of underinvestment. President Trump has repeatedly expressed interest in acquiring Greenland, even suggesting military action, despite Denmark being a NATO ally.
Wildfires have broken out near Jerusalem, forcing evacuations and disrupting key Memorial Day and Independence Day events. The blaze has led to road closures and an urgent international appeal for help.
Wildfires erupted on the outskirts of Jerusalem on Wednesday, driven by extreme heat and strong winds. The fires forced the evacuation of 3 communities and shut down parts of Route 1, the main highway connecting Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Videos showed thick smoke blanketing the hills, and in some cases drivers were seen abandoning their vehicles or navigating through walls of fire. At least 13 people have been injured, according to police, though no deaths have been reported. Fire and rescue services, supported by military search and rescue teams, are battling the flames with aircraft and helicopters. With Israel marking Memorial Day and preparing for its 77th Independence Day, many ceremonies were cancelled, including the main state event in Jerusalem. Prime Minister Netanyahu said Italy and Croatia will send firefighting planes, while Israel has also requested help from Greece, Cyprus and Bulgaria.
Turkey's premier defence, aviation and technology festival Teknofest, gathering dozens of teams and tech enthusiasts for competitions, air exhibits and workshops, kicks off in Nicosia today. Our Alia Iman is on the ground and has more on that. Good morning, Alia. What's the agenda of the festival for today?
Good morning. Well, Dilek, the 2025 Teknofest Aerospace and Technology Festival has begun right now in the capital city of Nicosia in the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Teknofest is Turkey's first, and it's one of the largest aerospace festivals in the world, which showcases high aviation as well as the latest technology. Key prominent leaders such as Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, President of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, Ersin Tatar, CTO of Baykar and the chairman of Teknofest, Selçuk Bayraktar, as well as the other ministers from Turkey and the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus will attend the festival, and they will also make speeches as well here. And thousands of students, organizations, universities, institutions will come here to showcase their technology, and they will showcase it on various competitions such as robotics, artificial intelligence, flying drones and cars, UAVs, and many more as well. And also, I wanted to add it that there's also participants from 22 countries who will attend as well. And at the end of the Technofest festival, they will announce the winners, starting from first, second, and third place. And also another thing I would like to add is that this is actually the second time Technofest is being held outside of Turkey, as the first time was in Baku, Azerbaijan in 2022. In the meantime, locals, visitors, and attendees will attend Technofest, and they will see the high aviation take place and see the latest technology to be displayed.
How long is the festival running for, Alia, and what are some of the highlights that our viewers should be expecting to see?
So our viewers should expect the latest technology, as I mentioned before, especially when it comes to the latest by-car technology, and also with the flying drones, and basically the highest aviation will take place here.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Thanks for those updates, Alia.
Thank you.
The Developing 8 Countries Economic Cooperation Organization, also known as D8, is aiming to boost mutual trade among its member states to $500 billion by 2030. Attending the Iran Expo in Tehran, D8 Secretary General Isiaka Abdulkadir Imam announced plans for a new cross-border payment system and emphasized the organization's expanding global footprint, especially after Azerbaijan joined as the 9th member late last year.
Leaders of the member states of the Developing 8 Countries Economic Cooperation Organization, known as the D8, say they are committed to boosting mutual trade volume to $500 billion by 2030 at the latest. The group accepted Azerbaijan as a member at the 11th summit meeting held in Cairo in December last year, increasing the number of members to 9. The Secretary-General Isiaka Abdulkadir Imam says that a D8 payment system will be implemented and used across all member countries.
2 of our members are in Africa, 2, Azerbaijan and Turkey, are in Europe, and while the others are in Asia. So that's part of some of the challenges that we have. But we're trying to overcome that because it could be an opportunity for us to expand our trade opportunities across the 3 continents. So it is a challenge, but we're trying to see how we can transform it into an opportunity for us.
A key initiative now underway is the D8 payment system, a financial platform similar to Visa or MasterCard, but customized for exclusive use among the 9 member states.
We have been working on that, on a D8 payment system. We are collaborating with a company in Malaysia called Comeps to develop our own customized D8 payment system, something akin to your Visa card or MasterCard, but that will be tenable within only the 9 member states. So we are working on that, and inshallah, before the first quarter or latest half quarter of next year, it should become active.
The organization was founded by Turkey, Iran, Egypt, Pakistan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Bangladesh and Nigeria at the Summit of Member States and Heads of Government held in Istanbul in 1997. With the Istanbul Declaration, the D8 maintains its existence as an international organization aimed at ensuring cooperation in development and increasing trade and cooperation between the member countries.
Turkey is marking a significant milestone in its energy diplomacy. For the first time, Turkish Petroleum is investing in oil exploration in Europe, following a landmark deal with Hungary's energy giant MOL. The agreement not only strengthens bilateral ties between Ankara and Budapest, but also opens the door to wider cooperation in the energy sector.
Turkey's national oil company Turkish Petroleum Corporation, or TPAO, has partnered with Hungary's MOL Group to explore and produce oil at the 2 sites in Hungary. The collaboration, which represents the first Turkish oil and gas investment in Europe, will focus on the onshore Buzak and Tamasi blocks. This step follows the joint bidding agreement signed last year between the two energy firms, culminating in a successful bidding process that secured TPAO's exploration rights. The deal was cemented with a concession agreement signed by TPAO General Manager Ahmet Türkoğlu and MOL Chairman Zsolt Hernadi. Turkish Energy and Natural Resources Minister Alparslan Bayraktar and Hungarian Foreign Affairs and Trade Minister Peter Szijjártó attended the ceremony in Budapest. During the event, Minister Bayraktar highlighted that energy cooperation has become a cornerstone of Turkey-Hungary relations. He said that the partnership between the two organizations represents a key milestone in deepening bilateral energy collaboration and is expected to grow not just in Hungary, but also in third countries across multiple regions. Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó echoed that sentiment, underlining the strategic importance of Turkey in Hungary's energy security. He said the new agreement marks the beginning of a broader cooperation in oil production, both within Hungary and beyond.
Over in Kyrgyzstan, construction has begun on a major new railway stretching over 500 kilometers connecting China, Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. Fariza Kalimurzina has more.
In the Suzak district of the Jalalabad region, work is now underway on dozens of bridges and tunnels. Together, they will make up nearly 40% of the entire railway line. Just within Kyrgyzstan, there will be 3 large tunnels totaling more than 37 kilometers. The full road will stretch over 532 kilometers, with about 305 kilometers running through Kyrgyz territory. The rest will be shared between China and Uzbekistan. As it's expected, more than 20,000 people will be involved in construction, and the total investment is estimated at $4.7 billion. Since Kyrgyzstan is landlocked, the new railway opens a vital path to global trade. It's seen not just as a transport project, but as a strategic bridge between East and West. China holds a 51% stake in the joint venture and sees Kyrgyzstan as a key part of trans-Eurasian trade. Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan each hold a 24.5% share. The project has been a long time coming. Talks about it started as far back as 1997. The official launch finally happened in December last year, with all 3 national leaders present. They emphasized that the railway's importance goes far beyond regional ties. The southern corridor linking Kashgar, Torugar, Jalalabad and Andijan will offer an alternative to roads through Kazakhstan and Russia, giving access to markets in Turkey, the Middle East and Europe. Meanwhile, experts believe the railway could cut shipping time from China to Europe by up to a week. Back in 2022, President Japarov said Kyrgyzstan could earn at least $200 million on a year once the railway is operational. If that happens, the country could go from being a landlocked transit outpost to a major hub on the global trade map. Fariza Kalimurzina, A News, in Almaty, Kazakhstan.
That's the world news for this hour. Stay with us on A News for more updates from around the world.